very simply, what is cloud, and kind of the way that I think about things is that it's less pictures and it's more of a different economic model for dealing with computing. What I think is really fantastic about cloud, sets it apart from where we were before, is that it has a very low cost of entry. You're paying only for what you use, and you're definitely not charged for unused infrastructure, right? So in the industry, an average server, which is interesting, server, computer, whatnot, is utilized between 10 and 30%. Right? So there's this massive amount of unused computing power that exists out there. And cloud is one of kind of the technologies that approaches how to actually use that unused bit of computing. This is the way that I think about it. Cloud is all things computing, everything that you need to build, deploy, and support software, servers, storage, internet connectivity, entire applications. We all use cloud computing concepts every day. If you have a Gmail account or a Facebook account, you're kind of tapping into cloud whether you know it or not. The industry kind of recognizes cloud computing in several different kind of pillars or silos of service. And this is an arguable point. There are more or less depending on your view of the world, but generally speaking, there are three main ones. Infrastructure as a service, fancy term for exactly what I said, servers, storage, internet connectivity, those types of things. There's platform as a service, which, once again, a fancy name for a software development framework or an integration framework, and then software as a service, which are entire applications that exist in the cloud, like what I've referenced before. So what makes cloud different from where we were before? What I like about cloud and what I think are some of the key tenets here are that it really supports an agile approach to the software lifecycle. Not too long ago, if you were going to write a software application or do something groundbreaking in computing, it would usually start with a scoping session where you would determine how big is the application going to be, how much disk space do I need, how many servers do I need, how many operations folks do I need to run it. Cloud kind of makes all of that go away and kind of exist in the background. So you can be agile. You can take a concept, you can develop it, try it out, and get feedback on it, all without kind of bearing that initial cost of trying to build up this tremendous amounts of infrastructure to support it. Another really cool concept around cloud computing is this notion of buy versus build. You don't need to make these kind of binary, true-false decisions around whether you buy or build software. You can use kind of a hybrid approach, and we in fact have a number of clients that are doing this today. For example, National Labor Relations Board is using our email platform as a service to connect with some of their decision-making processes. And their choice was partially build. They have a purpose-built application for managing those decisions, and partially buy. Leverage GovDelivery to do what it does really well, which is deliver messages and whatnot. All of that, you can kind of bubble up and say that cloud computing really allows an organization to focus on what really matters to them, the mission and the customers, where the cloud provider gets to focus on all the details like capacity and connectivity and failover and things like that. It's a huge weight, I think, off of the shoulders of somebody who's in a mission initiative to deploy software and whatnot. And then finally, it has a much lower initial cost of ownership, which is kind of sets the stage for things like innovation and agility that I referred to earlier. So cloud is not just water vapor, right? You've seen the big pictures of the fluffy clouds and whatnot. I like to call it innovation fuel. It is not the innovation itself, but it sure provides a lot of the thrust or the rocket power to take some of these really interesting, cool, and new concepts into the world so we can all benefit from them. So what is it that cloud can do for government? Well, we've heard this, save money, right? Vivek Kundra came out with some statements that I think its federal data centers are 7 to 15% utilized. Industry average, as I told about earlier, is 10 to 30% utilized. That means that there's a lot of extra computing power sitting out there that we're paying for and not using. So the first thing that cloud computing is going to do is save money, and that's what I think the Cloud-First Initiative is designed to do. Reduce the spend around data centers, move things where appropriate to the cloud to capture that money. It's really going to allow government to lighten up and focus on mission and values and less on the bits and the bytes. This is the part that I like the most. We in government have an opportunity to kind of support this culture of innovation, and this transition's been happening in the private sector for a number of years now. Be creative. Take calculated risks. You're not going to be encumbered by significant upfront startup costs to take an idea and develop it. I think that's phenomenally important, and we're all going to be able to benefit from that as we go forward.